There's a quiet number hiding in your blood work that can reveal more about your future health than you might imagine. It doesn't cause pain itself, yet it whispers about the strength of your kidneys, your energy, even how long you'll stay independent. That number is your creatinine level. Too high, and it can point to hidden strain on your kidneys, something that often goes unnoticed until it's too late. For many over 50, this number slowly rises without warning, bringing fatigue, swelling, and blood pressure troubles. But here's the hopeful truth. Simple daily habits can help bring it down, protect your kidneys, and restore peace of mind. I'm Dr. Brian, and welcome to Channel Vital Science for Seniors. Today we'll walk through practical, science-backed steps you can begin right away to lower high creatinine, protect kidney health, and keep living with strength and joy. Think of creatinine as the exhaust fumes of your muscles. Every time your muscles burn fuel for energy, they leave behind this tiny waste product. In a healthy body, your kidneys act like filters in a water purifier, catching that waste and flushing it out through urine. But when the filters start to clog, whether from age, high blood pressure, diabetes, or other causes, creatinine begins to build up in the blood. Doctors use its level as a window into kidney function. For men, a normal range is about 0.7 to 1.3, for women 0.5 to 1.0. I once cared for a retired teacher named Margaret, who felt frustrated every time her blood tests showed creeping creatinine levels. She had already given up smoking years ago and managed her diabetes carefully, but still her numbers worried her. When we looked closely at her diet, we noticed it was rich in meat and bread, but low in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Together we made one small change, adding more fiber. Within months, her tests began to show gentle improvement. Fiber works like a cleaning crew in your digestive system. Soluble fiber, found in foods like apples, beans, and oats, forms a gel that traps toxins and helps carry them out of the body before they can ever reach the kidneys. Insoluble fiber, in foods like cucumbers or whole wheat bread, keeps things moving smoothly, preventing waste from sitting too long in your system. This reduces the burden on your kidneys to filter out creatinine later. Research backs this up. A 2014 study found that people with chronic kidney disease who increased fiber intake lowered their creatinine levels significantly. For most older adults, about 25 to 30 grams a day is a good target. That might sound like a lot, but it can be as simple as adding a pear to breakfast, a handful of beans at lunch, and steamed broccoli at dinner. Supplements can help too if food alone feels challenging. Margaret told me she felt lighter, had more regular digestion, and most importantly, more confident in her health. Sometimes the path to protecting your kidneys begins with the crunch of an apple. I remember a gentleman named Carlos, 72 years old, who came to see me because he felt exhausted all the time. His creatinine levels had been climbing, and despite eating carefully, he wasn't seeing much improvement. After a long conversation, it turned out he hadn't slept well in years. Night after night, he woke up restless, sometimes gasping for air, other times pacing the house at 3 in the morning. Sleep is more than rest. It's the body's nightly maintenance shift. When you sleep deeply, your kidneys get a chance to catch up, filtering waste like creatinine more efficiently. Without that downtime, blood pressure rises, inflammation builds, and the delicate blood vessels in your kidneys take a beating. Imagine trying to run a washing machine 24 hours a day without pause. It eventually breaks down. Studies show that poor sleep can directly worsen kidney function. In fact, people with sleep disorders like apnea have a higher risk of chronic kidney disease. For someone like Carlos, improving sleep hygiene, creating a consistent bedtime, limiting fluids late in the evening, treating underlying apnea was just as important as diet changes. Over a few months, his mornings felt brighter, his energy stronger, and yes, his lab work steadier. If you're over 50 and struggling with sleep, remember this. Your body isn't just asking for comfort, it's pleading for repair time. 6 to 8 hours of high-quality rest each night isn't indulgence, it's medicine. And for your kidneys, it can make the difference between strain and resilience. One of the hardest conversations I've had was with a woman named Evelyn, 65, who had smoked for more than 4 decades. When her blood work showed rising creatinine, she was shocked. She thought lungs and heart maybe, but kidneys? Few people realize that every puff of smoke sends toxins coursing through the bloodstream, shrinking the very vessels that feed the kidneys. With less blood flow, those filters can't work as they should, and creatinine begins to climb. Smoking is like pouring sand into the gears of a fine machine. It not only blocks circulation, but also raises blood pressure, another direct blow to kidney health. Research has shown that smokers consistently have higher creatinine levels than non-smokers. And the hopeful part is this: quitting makes a difference surprisingly fast. Within a year, kidney function can show measurable improvement, with creatinine dropping by as much as 10%. That's not just a number, that's energy, freedom from swelling, and protection against dialysis. For Evelyn, quitting wasn't easy. She stumbled more than once. But with support, nicotine patches, a counseling group, and her own determination, she finally broke free. She told me the first thing she noticed wasn't her breathing, but her energy. She could walk longer, garden more, and her lab results gave her a quiet confidence she hadn't felt in years. If you've smoked for decades, you may fear it's too late. I promise you, it isn't. Every cigarette not smoked is a gift of cleaner blood flow, lighter kidney workload, and a healthier tomorrow. Your kidneys are waiting for that fresh breath of relief. There was a retired firefighter I once met named Daniel. Strong as an ox, even in his late 60s, he prided himself on heavy workouts. But one day his blood test came back with a surprise: high creatinine. He was worried something was terribly wrong with his kidneys. After talking it through, we realized his routine of intense weightlifting was playing a role. When muscles work to the point of breakdown, they release more creatinine into the blood. For healthy kidneys, this is usually fine. They filter it out quickly. But for kidneys already under strain, those extra waste products can tip the balance. Think of it like pouring too much laundry into an old washing machine. It may run, but the strain shortens its life. Similarly, overloading your muscles with extreme exercise can overwhelm kidneys that need gentler care. That doesn't mean exercise is harmful. In fact, it's vital. But the type and intensity matter. Studies have shown that moderate activity, like walking, swimming, yoga, or light cycling, supports healthy blood pressure, circulation, and kidney function, without flooding the bloodstream with creatinine. When Daniel shifted from bench pressing to brisk morning walks with his wife, he noticed something unexpected. He felt less sore, more energized, and his numbers began to steady. He told me he finally understood that strength wasn't just about pushing harder, but about knowing when to ease up. If you're over 50, the best exercise for your kidneys isn't the most exhausting. It's the most sustainable. Move daily, move joyfully, but give your body the kind of activity it can thrive on, not just survive. I'll never forget a patient named Ruth, 70, who loved her canned soups and pickles. When her ankles began to swell and her blood pressure crept upward, her lab results also showed a troubling rise in creatinine. She was frightened. She hadn't realized that salt, something so small and familiar, could quietly burden her kidneys. Excess sodium acts like a sponge, pulling water into the bloodstream, raising pressure inside the delicate vessels of the kidneys. Over time, this pressure wears them down, making it harder to filter out creatinine and other wastes. Imagine a garden hose with water blasting at full force day and night. Sooner or later, that hose weakens and cracks. That's what too much salt does to kidney vessels. The good news is that reducing sodium has almost immediate benefits. The American Heart Association suggests less than 5,100 milligrams daily for those with kidney concerns, which is less than a teaspoon. For many people, that single change can lower blood pressure, ease swelling, and lighten the kidney's workload. Ruth learned to read food labels and swapped her processed snacks for fresh fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins. She experimented with herbs, lemon, and garlic for flavor, and to her surprise, she found food tasted better, not worse. Within months, her swelling eased, her blood pressure dropped, and her lab numbers showed progress. Salt may be hidden in nearly everything from bread to sauces, but you have the power to choose differently. Each meal without excess sodium is like turning down the pressure on your kidneys, giving them room to heal and thrive. A man named George, a retired engineer, once came into my office with a puzzled look. He had switched to what he thought was a healthy, high-protein diet, lots of steak, eggs, and protein shakes. He felt strong, but his blood work told another story. His creatinine was climbing. He asked me, "Doc, how could eating clean hurt my kidneys?" The answer lay in the very way our bodies process protein. Every piece of protein we eat is broken down into building blocks, and one of the natural byproducts is creatinine. When the kidneys are already struggling, that extra workload can push them even further. Think of your kidneys as diligent workers at a factory line. Protein is essential material. They need some to keep the body running. But if too much floods in, the line backs up, waste piles high, and the workers grow weary. That's what happens when protein intake is excessive for someone with kidney issues. The goal isn't to cut protein out, it's to find balance. For many with kidney concerns, around 0.6 to zero point 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight per day is safer. That might mean choosing smaller portions of chicken or fish while adding more beans, lentils, and tofu. These plant-based sources are gentler on the kidneys and still provide energy. George adjusted his meals, reducing the shakes and oversized steaks, and within months his labs stabilized. He told me he still felt strong, but lighter, less bloated, more balanced. For kidneys under strain, less protein isn't deprivation, it's protection, a way of honoring the work those tiny filters do for you every single day. There was a kind woman named Lillian, in her late 60s, who came to see me because of worsening fatigue and rising creatinine levels. When we looked through her habits, she mentioned almost casually that she took ibuprofen every day for her arthritis pain. She had no idea those little pills, bought so easily at the pharmacy, could be quietly straining her kidneys. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or NSAIDs, work by blocking chemicals that cause pain and inflammation. But those same chemicals also help keep blood flowing freely through the tiny vessels inside your kidneys. Without them, circulation slows, pressure rises, and the kidneys' filtering units are damaged. It's like watering a garden but suddenly squeezing the hose. The flowers, in this case your kidneys, don't get the nourishment they need, and over time they wilt. What makes NSAIDs particularly tricky is that the damage doesn't cause immediate pain. You don't feel the kidneys straining until the blood work reveals the truth. Studies have confirmed that long-term NSAID use is linked to higher creatinine levels and worsening kidney disease, especially in older adults. When Lillian stopped relying on daily ibuprofen and worked with her doctor to find safer alternatives, like gentle stretching, heat therapy, and an occasional carefully monitored medication, her numbers began to stabilize. If you're living with joint aches or back pain, it may feel impossible to get by without those pills. But know this, there are safer paths forward. Always talk to your doctor before reaching for NSAIDs long-term. Your kidneys, already working tirelessly for you, deserve that extra layer of protection. I once spoke with Henry, a 74-year-old who proudly carried a thermos of coffee everywhere he went. He rarely drank plain water, convinced that tea and coffee were enough. Over time, his lab results told another story. His creatinine levels were edging upward, and he complained of muscle cramps and fatigue. What he didn't realize was that his kidneys were begging for water, not more caffeine. Water is the simplest, most powerful support you can give your kidneys. Picture a stream running clear after a rainfall. That's what proper hydration does inside your body. It dilutes creatinine in the blood, making it easier for the kidneys to filter it out. When you're dehydrated, the opposite happens. The stream slows, waste concentrates, and the kidneys strain to keep up. Over years, that quiet strain can lead to damage. Research has shown that people who consistently drink adequate fluids lower their risk of chronic kidney disease. For most older adults, sipping water throughout the day, rather than guzzling it all at once, keeps the system steady. Eating water-rich foods like cucumbers, melons, and oranges adds gentle hydration too. When Henry swapped a few cups of coffee for water and began carrying a simple water bottle, the difference surprised him. His cramps eased, his energy rose, and his follow-up labs showed improvement. He said it felt like his body was finally sighing in relief. Hydration doesn't need to be complicated. Just listen to your thirst, keep water nearby, and remember, every sip is a small act of kindness to the kidneys that work tirelessly to keep you well. If there's one truth I hope you carry with you, it's that protecting your kidneys doesn't require grand gestures. It comes from the quiet power of daily choices, An apple here, an early bedtime there, a glass of water instead of another soda. These small acts add up to lighter creatinine levels, steadier energy, and the freedom to keep living on your terms. Change is possible at any age, and your kidneys will thank you for every effort. I'm Dr. Brian, and this is Vital Science for Seniors. Take care, stay hopeful, and keep choosing health each day.